Tonight is Wednesday, July the 16th, and this is Management 4720, Strategy and Policy. We're going to talk a little bit about case number 2, the Arabesque Hotel, and then we're going to talk on a few macroeconomics topics. I posted another set of questions from macro to Canvas today. Some of them overlap the previous questions, some of them have some different material, and maybe they at least ask the questions in a slightly different way that you will find helpful. Or not. We'll talk on a couple of those questions tonight and anything else. And actually, let's go ahead and start. Have you got anything going on in your minds? As far as this course, the program, graduation, life in general? Josh?
Got any people calling you for looking for employees?
No, no one's calling me, mostly because I don't have a really high profile that way. But you just raised an incredibly interesting issue to me. I've been trying to push some efforts to promote the OM program, and it's going to be more credible if you can see some of the faculty and some of the students talking about it. And then if I were to raise my visibility, Dr. Searcy, etc., I think the phone might start ringing, and I think that your question has provoked greater thought in me about that, so thank you.
We just spoke to Circe a little bit about possibly bringing in some kind of format to where we could have recruiters come in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, the company I'm trying to get a job with would have recruiters, sister or competitors of them.
Our difficulty so far has been we graduated about 8 people last term. Not many folks want to come in and only have a group of 8 people to scan and review.
But when they're that good, I mean, hey, why else?
I will argue that in your favor, absolutely. But if you're going to talk to 8 people, these are the 8 you ought to talk to. You know? But yeah, and thank you for that question. That made more interest that way.
I definitely am. Yeah, looking for hoping I want some jobs.
Well, I may have to edit this out. There is nothing going on around here to promote this program, both for recruitment, I mean just minuscule efforts, and as far as saleability of the graduates, 0 effort going on. And right now, I know Dr. Searcy, he's supposed to have an assistant working with him, handling the administration. He hadn't had that for 2 years. He's supposed to be a PhD type for our accreditation.
I'm about to get my
because he's really behind.
Well, he's just buried.
He's
And,
buried, yeah.
you know, we had hired a person to start in fall, and at the last minute she said, oh no, I got a better offer in Missouri.
Misery?
Well, compared to what salaries are like around here. So we're back at, ground zero. We're in the beginning the 3rd year of the program this fall. He's done it all by himself so far.
I know I did.
Do you guys have the ability to hire non-PhD assistants? Like
Not on
No.
Santa Fe.
I'm kind of
No,
like
you're exactly right, Josh.
Possibly.
If we had a position like that, we'd have excellent people to choose from, and they could do a lot in the way of incremental advisement, if you will, to students, planning their academic schedules, talking about the courses, working through some issues. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was going to say, really talk maybe about possibly implementing a work study program for this OM program, because you don't have to pay them that much and it can come off their tuition, so they can learn while they're going through it and help.
And I may not edit this anyway, I don't really give a damn. We are so encumbered by the rules and regulations on this college campus, from human resources in particular, and from finance in particular, about hiring people and being flexible in the way you hire them and how long you hire them. And it's archaic. It is so regimented and fixed, there's no flexibility. And so we're running into exactly the problems you see.
no consultants, no outside staffing.
Nothing.
Which is funny because I applied, they had a position for the Career Center here. I've not only come in with the experience of the 25 years of hiring, I've now have the bachelor's, and they sent me, a little letter saying, no thank you.
When
We
was this?
reviewed it. Not fall, not spring.
Last summer?
Maybe. I know it was last year, because I happened to be on for something else. I go, oh, look, they have a...
And what were they advertising for?
It was the Career Source Center, or what building? I think I kept it
It
on
was,
file.
it wasn't an advisor position, is that correct?
No, because I know that you needed a
Yeah, you need a master's.
master's degree. Maybe I didn't notice that, but I don't think that's why they said I didn't do it. Get it? Because usually they'll say you need these qualifications and why. But
Because if you're talking career advisement, well, that's right down your track.
Right.
If you're talking academic advisement.
no, it
it's a
was
different
career.
group.
I'm about 99%. It was career, and I was
If you
very
run across it
surprised.
again, send it to me, I'd like to
I
see what
will.
that was. That'd be
Yeah,
interesting.
because I just happened to stumble upon it looking for something else, and I saw the job openings at Santa Fe, and I was like, well. So, but it's funny you mentioned that. In our entrepreneur class, we have to, come up with the company that we want to launch.
Oh, yeah.
Is how we have to do it. You have to kind of start from scratch. But when I've talked about trying to do this,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to figure out how to make money at it because most people that I would need to talk to don't have a job, so there's not money.
Yeah.
So I was talking with some friends that I have in retail because it's mostly retail end, and they really are. Companies are trying to think out of the box, and so I have a friend that works for Brooks Brothers. He's out of Miami, but the district manager's been my friend for years, and they now. I know you love LinkedIn. She did they called it. They're gonna forward me the exact invitation, but they did an invitation for. They didn't call it networking. They just called it either a gathering or a career. They didn't call it a career fair.
Just an informational meeting, sort of.
Yes, and they did the invitations out, and so I asked how they got the money part because that's the thing entrepreneurs talking about. Where would the revenue come from it? And so the district had a budget, and it's worth it to them because their problem is they're having a hard time finding top talent. They're getting tons of resumes,
At
but
what
the
entry
top
level?
talent. I believe they're talking management up for this, but because they're opening stores and losing, they probably opened it up to sales in general. But if there's management too, they sent out invitations on LinkedIn. They got
Individual invitations to people?
Mhm.
Okay.
and I believe LinkedIn. I haven't played with LinkedIn a lot. I think there might be a spot for notices about stuff coming up because that's how I got it because she knows me, so she
Right.
automatically sent me one. But they also their HR had a database and they sent some stuff out that attached to LinkedIn. But they used the budget of their district because most district managers have some type of leeway.
Right.
But they took $1,000, he said, and they had about 90 invites and about 45 showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Now I still haven't gotten the final on how many people they're hiring, but they're really starting to think out of the box now because it's.
In other
they're-
words, we're not gonna sit here and wait for people to send us resumes
Correct.
or fill out applications.
Right.
I've got one that I'm trying to remember to post it, and I'll post it for this class as well as a management
Mm-hmm.
class. It's from Harvard Business Review, and it says basically resumes are not simply obsolete, they're dysfunctional.
Yeah.
They tell you the skills a person has and say nothing about whether they can use them and whether they can use them in your environment.
And so
did
they
re-
watched them mix and mingle and who
Yeah, and they're-
talked and who.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're talking about things like personality.
Because we're in
Profiles
sales.
and,
If you can't talk to people in a group,
Exactly.
I thought that for years. I think I thought that, people coming out of college and especially a lot of the younger groups, they have no personal experience with other people, and it would always frustrate me that because this 22-year-old has a bachelor's now and they know everything,
Mhm.
that even though I had 10 years of sales experience, customer service experience,
Yep.
they would get the job over me.
Yeah. The other thing we're finding is a lot of people with bachelor's degrees are functionally illiterate and unemployable. I've got a friend out in Seattle who's screening resumes for a company with college graduates, including graduate level students. She says they can't even write a resume, much less a cover letter. And when you sit down with them one-on-one, they can't carry a conversation.
Correct.
yeah.
So,
So
yeah, there's a lot of
David
that
was
going
talking
on.
about what I need to figure out is how do I.
Yeah.
The problem is does it take 6 months to get people hired? How could I find the niche in between? They'd be worth to pay me that I would find good top talent in half the time for them. And now that I know that some district managers are willing to use their budget, because I told them my dilemma is most companies say that's your job, you got to find them. You don't get any extra money.
As
you
a
don't
store
get it.
manager, the
Yes,
district manager.
and district manager. They tell you to recruit and go out and network, but you're short staffed, so you can't leave your store, especially
Right.
as a store manager, to go out to network and recruit because you're running the store because you're short staffed of management.
That's what we're
Because
seeing
most
everywhere.
stores. So, but the problem but now the companies are going, okay, yeah, they're all coming in, but it's the top talent that they keep talking about. They just can't find people.
On a
So I thought
related
that was
note,
interesting.
There was a letter to the editor in the local paper talking about stop trying to kick the immigrants out of the United States. They're the only people that work in these entry-level, manual level labor jobs. So hiring high school graduates in the United States, they either don't show up or show up for a couple of
yeah.
days and disappear. They got all kind of problems. They want the next day off. Said the immigrants show up on time, work all day, and once you make sure they're doing what they
Listen,
want,
when I
what
worked
you
in
want,
Miami for years,
good quality. Yeah.
years, it was different to come back to this college town because when these hurricanes hit, you know, it's hard to get people to come in and these malls open up anyway. Let me just tell you, most of those kids are not only working, they're supporting it's income for the family. So I never had a problem. If I call, they go, oh no, we'll get them down there. If they had to walk to the mall because the buses weren't running or weren't running on time. I got back to Gainesville and they were calling out because they were, you know, had a cold or a sniffle. I was like, I see, this is a night and day. They would beg me to come in. No, I'll work.
That's entry work level. When we move up and talk management level, bachelor degrees, et cetera, I think you still got a huge problem of filtering out a lot of wannabes who can't or won't.
That's why on my phone interview today, I emphasized, I said I went back to school at 30, and I've stayed focused. I've got my AA degree, and I'm about to graduate with my bachelor's, and I have plenty of customer service and sales experience prior, and now I have the education to match it.
And the
So-
maturity.
That's what I would tell everybody.
and
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's what I told her as well. I said, you know,
Maturity for most folks means work ethic.
Yeah, because we were talking about enterprise. Because David was like, "Well, you know they're hiring." I said, "Yeah, but you have to have a bachelor's." Even with my 25 years of experience, they were like, "You had a bachelor's."
where?
Because that enterprise.
Rent-a-car?
I
I've
read-
been there
yeah,
before.
yeah.
That
They
same
had
thing.
it automatic because it used to be either or.
It
and
could
they
be
don't
used to
even
be-
care
You can
what
take
the
the biggest
bachelor's
idiot on the
is in.
street, he gets a bachelor's degree, he gets the job
Yeah.
versus this
Yeah,
smartest guy
20
with all
And,
the-
Yeah, 20
and we're
years.
back to what Dr. Cersei says, a college degree is a signal. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you know a lot. It does mean that you can apply yourself
Right.
and stick with
I
it.
mean,
Right.
with enterprise, I mean, you could have built a car rental company from the ground up and run it for the past 30 years, and if you don't have your
Yep,
bachelor's degree,
correct.
oh well.
Yeah, my,
David goes, "That's ridiculous." I was like,
and again, it doesn't matter what the degree is in.
That's right.
In
Correct.
most places, this company I'm trying to get with, and then the competitor. My sister worked for the competitor for 9 years. My sister had a 4-year degree in equine sciences. It's an outside sales position. It's business. So it didn't. It was irrelevant that it was equine sciences. It's
right.
you had a 4-year degree.
If you got to stick with it
It's real, yeah.
and the people skills and the
Right.
intelligence to at least learn what we're going to teach you to
Right.
do.
right.
That's it.
Yeah,
And they're having trouble, as you say, Teresa, they're
Yep.
having trouble finding that.
find the top talent. Yeah.
And,
So
and these company, this particular one that I'm going with, and then again the competitor, their management, and I've heard about it, and I'm aware of all this, but all their management are the young kids that try to micromanage. They have no clue about management. 'Cause they have no people skills.
No people skills, no ability to distance themselves from it.
Correct.
Because they're, you know, at that age, most of us are
no going
scared
out
to
with
death.
them.
And we're worried about stuff, we socialize too much.
Yep.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. That to me is the kind of stuff should be going out about this program, where our average graduate's 30, 34 years old.
Right.
So, we will continue, but again, I owe you one, Josh, a cold beer one night, to keep me thinking about how do we raise visibility for our graduates and our influencers, meaning faculty and staff.
That's interesting.
Job fair, maybe set up a booth at UF for the.
And Santa Fe does have job fairs periodically. That's
Just
how I
get
got my
people in.
internship at No More Homeless
No.
Pets. So
I agree that's,
if you, I don't know, maybe work,
my thought, right off the top of my head, is let's print up a 1 or 2 page email that's introducing the graduates of this term. Here's their background, et cetera, here's their contact, and email that down to the Chamber of Commerce and say, please disseminate this among your members.
Sounds fantastic.
Right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Can I do that?
we could. I think it looks better coming out from the school
Maybe I
as
can get
opposed
you
to.
the right
what we do.
contact since my
You happen to
brother's
know
there.
somebody down
A
there.
little
don't you?
bit, but I don't know if he handles that side of it.
Well,
But I can definitely
If
get
you know
a
somebody
name.
who
I
knows
absolutely
somebody,
can.
you know,
Yeah, I do. I have a little bit.
good.
He's
Yeah,
the chairman of the board.
Follow up with me, Josh, and let's, we'll make Teresa
Yeah,
produce
'cause-
here, and yeah,
And
let's
let
do
me
it.
know if I need to input anything, and I'll happily contribute whatever you want.
yeah.
I need to
You
find
get
out
them
for
here.
sure who else graduating, but I can also contact some of the last term's graduates and see who's around.
Okay.
If we can
I
get through
think
your
that's
2 assignments, hopefully.
I'm sorry?
I said we can get through your 2 assignments, hopefully.
We'll
Yeah, and
graduate.
for those of you that happen to finish this course and graduate,
Hey, you can put it on there. That's all right. Because my entrepreneur, I'm not real worried about, but this one.
This is the most terrifying class.
Yeah.
This might be more of a personal thing, but there are 3 of us, so, I mean, For my project, I originally was telling you I was going to do it on my buddy that works for Red Lobster.
Mhm.
Can I do it on the Orlando Magic?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that you were backing away from that. I
Yeah.
thought you'd
Yeah,
really
you're
go-
thinking either way.
Well, I was just I was thinking with him that I could interview him, but that's not going to work. So
Okay, good.
I thought about doing RJ Reynolds, but I decided to go with Santa Fe.
You gonna go with Santa Fe?
And I've already done a lot of research, and I know how much all y'all make.
Good. I would like,
I found-
are you going to interview the president?
Should I?
I think so.
I've already spoken to the president once before, so.
I
sure.
think you should tell him you're doing something on the strategic,
In this program, get a little.
vision.
He's not hard to get. He's not easy to get in to see unless you push it. And you have to push
Well,
the button.
especially on short notice, but I know he tries to be available, so.
would hope.
Who is it's the vice president, the one he's.
Internally, you've got two of them. You've got the vice president for academic affairs, Ed Bonahue, Dr. Bonahue,
Yes,
and then you have the vice president for finance, who controls a lot of the administrative functions as opposed to academic. That's Ginger Gibson.
Who is Bonahue's right-hand man?
He has numerous
The
vice presidents reporting to him. His administrative assistant is Debbie McElroy.
Yeah,
Heard that name before.
he's got an accent. He's an older guy,
My pastor just
African
retired.
American.
I don't know what he
He's
was.
super, super nice.
I think this may be someone new we brought on board.
No, he's been here a couple years.
You sure he's still here? Dr. Jefferson recently retired.
That's it.
Yeah,
He's a
he's-
very,
he's
very
a
nice
Super guy,
guy. I love him.
and he's not here anymore.
Oh,
But by all means,
okay.
and keep me posted as you go along.
Yeah, I found a website where we can look at your salaries.
Good.
Website.
And you can look at our structure, and you can, but more importantly, can you get anyone to articulate or find it articulated in documents? What's our strategic vision for the next 5, 7, 8 years?
Well, I think probably meeting it with Circe.
Yeah.
Can I have a meeting with you?
Sure, why?
Uh-huh.
Why?
Oh,
I have
about
nothing
the-
to do with strategy around here.
Oh, you have no input on the
Those are
strategy of
teaching
the OM
strategic
program?
management.
Of the OM program, but I would caution you away from that because we're so constrained. We have no budget, we have no people,
Right.
we have
Do the-
very limited resources in every sense of that word.
I'm sure Bonahue would love to meet with me again.
Oh, okay. Josh?
With the lack of resources, there's no risk of. This is an accredited program, correct?
The college is accredited.
Okay, so it's just got to be the college accredited. Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's an accreditation program for business programs, business schools, the American Association of Schools and Colleges of Business. We're not accredited by them. Not a lot of people are. We're not too worried about it. at
Any
this
way
point.
to get accredited? By them?
Yeah, give us a little more resources, more people to work on it, because most of it's paperwork.
I bet, I was gonna say, a lot of it's always
Yeah,
paperwork.
huge nightmare. Okay, anything else?
Is the answer number 1257?
I have no idea. The answer to
I got that
I
far.
forgot my financial calculator.
You,
Oh,
That would be very.
you've got to, I wrote this up when my wife and I were spending the weekend at the beach, watching grandkids. And she had grandkids out, and I had a little breathing time, and I got to looking at the hotel and remembered all the experiences down there, checking in and looking how many people there were. The more I thought about it, I thought, well, let's try it. So I made this up, and the numbers are fictitious. I made them up. They could be way unrealistic. I don't know. But what I've done is give you a pretty decent or detailed breakdown on their costs. What does variable cost mean? The first question before anything is, how much of this is variable cost?
It's the costs that change
With what?
with the accounting periods, correct?
No. It's the cost, what's the other part of cost? Variable cost and fixed cost. Fixed cost is fixed no matter how many guests you have in your facility.
Right.
Variable costs vary with the number of guests. It might be so much per guest, or it might come in increments. Every time we have 20 guests, we have this much. When we have another 20 guests, we have this much. Variable costs go up and down with the number of people who come into your business or buy your product. So you'd have to dig through here and ask how much of this is variable. How much of this will not be there if we don't have any guests?
If we don't have any guests,
Or very few, you know? So that's the question to think. There is no clear, easy, black and white answer to almost any of this.
well, isn't, management, they're considered fixed costs,
They're
correct?
fixed, right?
But employees can be variables,
Okay,
depending on.
explain to me how.
What I read before was they can be variables depending on seasons, especially for a business like this. You may not hire as many maids, for instance, because you know that
In
during
the
the winter,
off-season, right?
you're going to have less guests.
Okay.
So,
And it may be you don't need nearly as many wait staff, kitchen staff, et cetera, or housekeepers, et cetera, based on seasonality, okay? Or based on levels, you know, in occupancy rates. So there's one, Josh,
I'm sorry, one, threw me off.
variable cost.
I think everything on here is variable cost, with the exception of the general manager, the maintenance supervisor, the sales director, the insurance and the mortgage.
Well,
I mean,
you're gonna have to have
Utilities you
somebody
have
at
to
the
pay no
desk,
matter
right?
what.
you would have to have somebody, but you don't necessarily need 9 people to do
Good.
it.
How many do you think you need if you have a very, very, very low occupancy rate?
well, you have to
Three. How
many?
consider shifts, so it depends on
Three?
your shifts.
So
Or
3 8-hour shifts?
I would say 4.
There we go.
So you have
Right,
or
somebody-
4 or 5, so you have some fill-in.
4 or 5, so you have fill-in.
Well, I mean, it would be part-time probably for the other 2, but 3.
Yeah.
I would say 3 full-time, 1 or 2 fill-in.
That's the kind of thinking I want you to do on this. If the whole test said, how much of this is variable cost? I would think you could write at some length on, well, desk staff, you probably need 4 full-time and 3 part-time, whatever. Make up your numbers. How about sales and marketing? There's a director, maybe we need that person. How many, do we need 12 staff for sales and
That
marketing?
seems huge.
That seems, yeah, that definitely seems,
What does sales and marketing staff do in a hotel?
well,
Give you timeshare coupons.
Let's go back to the most basic principal question. You've got a fairly large upscale hotel in a large tourist area. What business are you in?
you're in
What-
sales.
Let me say it this way. What needs do you satisfy? Because to me, that's where you start everything. What needs does your business satisfy?
Customer,
Um,
hospitality,
hold on.
entertainment,
A utility.
lodging.
What utility? Describe that utility.
A person's want to get away from,
Want to get away, want to be comfortable, want to get away, maybe you'll even pampered a
or be
little bit.
safe.
Want to be safe. Maybe I wanted my kids to be safe. Okay, so now we're talking about the people who come in as guests. Okay. What other market or target group out there might you be satisfying some needs for?
Business travel.
Business travelers.
Or
Those are residents, guests who are there for business as opposed to vacation. Absolutely right. What are their needs?
A Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Things that,
Absolutely essential Wi-Fi. Anything else?
Good place to work, or a good work environment.
Some kind of work environment,
Right.
which means possibly rooms with an office suite in it.
right.
For the ones that
Or
want to
in
pay
your
for
room,
it.
right.
It may mean an office center where you have
Right.
supplies and other mailing material, or who knows what else, presentation materials, projectors for rent, et cetera, et cetera. So we got vacationers, we got business travelers, who else do we have? Who else's needs can we satisfy?
We satisfy local residents with the restaurant and bar.
Perfect. Let's move our restaurant, particularly in the off-season. Let's address the permanent residents, give them a nice discount, because we gotta cover these fixed costs. Good, permanent residents in the restaurant. Who else?
employees, right?
No, revenue sources.
Oh, revenues.
The families of local residents,
Why?
when they come to visit.
Good.
If they're coming to visit for whatever, I mean, anything, even like, possibly like, local schools that are, like, let's say,
Come on.
let's
you're
say
there.
GHS or something, is.
There's a big soccer tournament in town.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got all these people who need a place to stay. So you've got traveling sports teams. You have a manifold number of organizations who
Yeah,
want to get together for some activity.
You have a conference room, you can, host
You've got
conventions.
business conferences and you've got
Weddings.
weddings and other social conferences. My daughter belongs to Sweet Adelines, nationwide singing group. Large towns have their own Sweet Adelines chorus. You'll have 20 to 75 or 100 women who'll come in, all of them from different places, and they'll sing. They'll sing all day, all night, taking turns in the rooms. And guess what they bring with them? Grandparents to babysit and things like that. So you've got a huge set of revenue sources. And so now you start asking, these are the needs we satisfied. These are the people who have these needs. Now, if you say, we have this ballroom, conference room thing, now you're into sales and marketing. Because this is the people they're gonna deal with when they come in and say, we're gonna need we're gonna have 3 ballrooms for these times, we're gonna need setups for coffee and drinks, and we're gonna need a banquet this night. That's your sales and marketing people. You can't have half-assed people doing that job. Right? So this said you were gonna have 12 staff. Well, that would also include the persons who set up your video and your audio, your lighting. Who knows what else, you know? So is 12 a large number? Maybe not. When do most of these activities take place? Not during 11 to 6 in the morning, but that's all. It's going active the whole time. I rolled into New Orleans one time to do a 2-day seminar, and I was scheduled to start at 8 o'clock in the morning. I went downstairs at 6:30, 3-piece suit, going to check, be sure, walked in. It looked like the high school prom had just ended. Disaster in my meeting room. I called sales and marketing. Took a while to get them. At 7:15, the guy comes in, says, I didn't know if it was 8 in the morning or 8 in the evening.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't wanna check that.
So I spent an hour, well, 45 minutes before we started, I was moving tables, wrapping up tablecloths.
I hope you got a discount.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I had it for 2 days. I didn't pay for one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
And that really hurt the business, and,
Well, they didn't make very much money on it, probably none.
well, that's what I'm saying, had they had proper staff and.
Sure, same
is that right?
problems, same problems, all
Hurt your
everywhere you go.
revenue.
So, as you look down there, just challenging to find variable costs, there's a whole lot of discussion you can have, a whole lot of questions that should arise.
Utilities are also a big variable cost depending on,
Absolutely, when nobody's in the room, turn the AC down. You don't have to turn it off, but at least turn it way down, because what happens when you and I go in a motel room?
wow.
We crank it.
I want that buddy as cold as it can get until my wife
I'm not
complains
paying.
I
about it.
usually turn the AC off the first thing I do. It's like too cold. Usually it's too
Oh,
cold.
no,
Like,
It depends.
I sleep like I
I
want
take
to
a really hot
live
shower.
in the afterlife, dark, cold, and quiet.
Yeah.
Me too.
All
I
right.
take a nice hot shower.
So then we get in here and it says, if you can figure out what the cost is, it says if you assume a 22% vacancy ratio and a target profit of $200,000 a month, and it's already told you there are 373 rooms, calculate the required room rate to achieve your profit target.
can I do it?
Can you explain it to me broadly?
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay.
This is right out of Management 3025, by the way.
Okay, broadly, okay, basically, what you're looking at here is the 22% of your rooms are occupied.
Are not occupied.
Not occupied?
Yeah, 22% vacancy.
Vacancies.
Oh. Okay,
So
like,
78% of your rooms are occupied.
okay, that's not a big deal. I can.
Well, we just do it in broad
We can
numbers.
adjust
You
this
got
real-
373 rooms. That's how many rooms you're gonna have rented.
Well, I can cut. It's not going to be 257. The new answer is. I can't believe it.
What'd you get?
Hold on, let me just see if I'm doing that right.
320?
What's that say?
330? 338? I don't know.
Okay, that's what I'm doing off. Huh, 7250.
No, I want the number of rooms you have.
Oh, the number of rooms?
What's 78% of 373?
That is 291 rooms. Well, 290.94.
You can't round up, you can't rent a partial room,
Yeah.
right? So you've only got 291 rooms,
All right.
okay? Broadly speaking, if I just had fixed costs,
Wait, 290. It'd be 290 then, if I can't round up.
I thought it was 291 something.
It was 290.9.
Oh, 290.
yeah.
If I knew my fixed costs were $1 million,
Can we go back just one second?
yeah,
Okay, I missed where you got the .78.
it said 22% vacancy,
Okay.
so this is,
You're going backwards on I did it.
okay. Here's my point. If I know my fixed cost is that much per year, how much is that per day? What's a million divided by 365? We're just making up numbers.
2,703 and $2,739.72.
2,739, we'll leave it there, dollars, okay? You with me so far? Every day I need to raise almost $2,800. Let's make it 28 just because it's easier for Strickland to write. Every day I gotta raise $2,800 to make this hotel operate. I gotta get that from 290 rooms. So 2,800 split or divided by 290 rooms, how much money do I need from each room?
Who's faster at
Hmm?
Who's faster at
9 point, hold on, wait, I think, yeah, 9 point,
90?
what am I doing wrong here? Actually, it would be 9, it'd be, 9.655.
9655. How much is that? That doesn't look right, does it?
No,
I question this number.
no, that number, wait, hold on. That might be wrong. Nope, that's right. Why are you dividing it by the rooms?
Wait a minute. 1 million,
Divided by 2,800.
no,
No, divided by 365.
divided by 365.
That's right.
Oops.
I came to 2739,
Which is what,
72,
which is what he
which
puts
you
when he
rounded up
does
to
run 20.
2800.
But where's 290 coming from? Oh, the
Well, your
290,
costs are
right.
too low, that's why that doesn't make sense.
That could well be.
Yeah.
Your costs are the one fit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what did I
just
get
even
for-
do it the other way.
Did you run total cost on this yet?
I came up with the total cost being $5,193,000.
Then that's more realistic, let's use
Right.
that. 5 million, let's say? Make that 5 million.
And you come out with 13,698.
1,300
No, 13,000.
per day, you divide it by 365? That's cool. That makes more sense.
Yeah, 13,690.
$13,690 per day is what I need to operate this place, assuming just fixed cost. So 13,690, and I have to make it by renting out 290 rooms. What do I have to get for each room?
4724. So 48 or 47. What did 98?
4724. Give it to you.
$47.20. That still sounds really low, but that's because we're just dealing with fixed costs.
Fixed cost, yeah, we haven't even touched the.
But what am I trying to do? I'm trying to say, if I'm only gonna have this many rooms rented, how much do I have to get from every room in order to cover these costs?
Which doesn't, well.
Go ahead.
This is how these companies rent these rooms so cheap at the last minute, like the.
You got it,
the-
you got it.
I'm
Because-
drawing a blank on the
Because what did we
companies,
not,
but.
first off, we haven't talked about any variable costs.
Right.
And
It still
second
adds
off,
to it.
we haven't
but-
talked about any profit.
Correct.
You add profit into your fixed costs too, and suddenly you gotta get more per room, more per room.
Right, but we talked about vacancy, so if you're still sitting on vacancy, you'll take that.
Instead of not renting.
Correct.
That's where, what is it, Priceline?
Yeah, I was trying to think of who's doing it.
Is
Yeah,
that
all
the
of
one with
those.
Star Trek's guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First line.
And now he's got the
William
girl from,
Shatner.
From
That's
Big
his
Bang
daughter.
Theater.
That's his daughter.
Is it
That his
really?
actual daughter?
no.
Strictly. I
I'll be damned. My
I,
favorite people, how
I
cool is that?
thought, I knew that there was some, but I didn't realize that was her. Huh. I love her.
We got the general thing, right?
Yeah.
What are the costs? How can we cover that with these many rooms?
Can I show you how it, or
What'd you do?
I just want to see one thing, see if you would have still got the same answer. I want to try your formula first. So it was $5 million in costs, right?
Right. We assume that, yeah.
And you needed to make $200,000 in profit per month.
So that's
gonna
another
be another.
2.4 million.
Yep. So we're looking at 7.4 million.
I need, and again, we're ignoring variable costs, so I
Yeah.
need $7.4 million
Alright, now
per
you're,
year.
per year.
If I divide that by 365, that's how much per day?
That is 20,274,
Okay.
we'll say,
Round off. I need 20,274 per day.
at 78, okay, it's pretty close.
20,274.
69.91.
And divided by my, what was it, 290 rooms?
Uh-huh.
And you got what?
Basically 70.
$70, give or take? Okay.
Yeah, because I got 72.50 basically doing the same. Can I show you the way I did? Or
No, it sounds like if you got 7,250, we're in the ballpark.
Okay.
No problem. Obviously, I think I've got the costs estimated too low here,
Right.
okay?
You made them up anyway. so
I
you
was,
know.
and I'm not gonna say that I had an adult beverage in my hand, okay?
Just
So,
make up some numbers.
my interest is the concept.
Right,
But,
you want the concept.
and again, I'm not gonna tear you apart because you didn't get the same answer I did. I'm just gonna see what process did you use? Because if we get that figure,
Because I use it a different way, I just wanted to see if there's something.
what'd you do?
I just want to see if there's any kind of error in what I'm doing here. I took a. Okay, the way, first of all, I figured out that the total costs were 5 million. I figured out the total costs were 5,193,000 per year.
Okay.
Divided that by 12, I got 432,750
Per month.
per month. Then I added 200,000 per month for the profits.
Okay, fine. Profit.
I divided that by 30,
Assuming a 30-day month,
correct?
is your
Which-
daily,
Which puts the daily revenue at 21,092.
very close to what we had.
Divided by 373 rooms.
You divided by 373.
I probably could have skipped a step, but
Yeah, you should have divided by
Vacancy.
290.
I get to there.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah.
well, tell me how you got there.
Okay. So then it comes
It's
to
all
56.55
Okay?
per room. Then I divided that by 78%.
Okay. Well, multiplied it by 78%.
Actually divided it.
What'd you get?
I got 72.50.
Oh, you're right, divided by. I'm going backwards. Okay, divided by 78. You got 5250?
72.50.
72. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's good.
I just didn't know if there was any if I was.
That's just math. We just, different approaches.
But you mainly, not that, we don't have to show you the math, but you're mainly wanting,
Concept. I'm assuming that if you were doing this on your own, you'd have 2 or 3 other people checking your figures, just like we're doing right now.
If we could just go back for just a moment, because I understand you got those figures, but I want to differentiate the variable cost and the fixed cost. So where do you,
I'm not sure the way I set this up, there was a whole lot of variable cost.
right, I kind of, so are we just saying that, are you good with employees in general? Are you considered a fixed cost regardless of,
I'm good with it for an initial calculation.
Okay.
Let's go to a couple of the other questions.
okay.
The second question says, describe the considerations involved in hiring staff for the hotel. Okay. What kind of things should be on your mind about hiring my staff for this hotel?
where,
Since you've had at least one course in human resource management.
well, it's where it's located, seasonal
What
or
about
not.
Okay.
Meaning You will have, I mean, in retail, we hire seasonal, because holiday, we hire
You
seasonal.
clearly have seasonal
So I would
in-
do it in a hotel.
in this, which
So-
means what?
Temp
It-
employees?
Yeah,
Temporary employees?
temporary. They do it, you do it during your peak season.
You
and
need
then
a
the
source of on-call almost, or seasonal
Seasonal, and then
employees.
we also do on-call, the retail does on-call. So if it's busy, we can call somebody in.
How do we find seasonal employees?
Not even.
People who come in and work for us during the season.
If it's summer, most of the time it's college or high school students,
Okay, high school and college.
college, that are home for the summer
Okay.
or
Or you go prospecting?
part-time.
The first year may be difficult, they don't know where you are. The second year, you've already had a staff for the season. What do you do?
We hire friends and, not friends and family, but we have them,
You go out and
Bring
get
people.
referrals from your best employees, and you hope that that's, where you get your
can go
better,
either way.
better cut. It can, absolutely. What other considerations in hiring staff for the hotel? It's open 24/7.
Yeah. shift work, people.
You
that
have
can
got
shift
to
work.
have people who can do shift work, and you've got to have managers who understand you're on call 24/7. Okay?
Yeah.
Any other considerations about hiring staff for the hotel?
Where's the hotel?
Huh?
What would we inside?
where's
It's in some big Daytona Beach-like area.
I was picturing that this whole time.
The fact that you said Daytona, that's my hometown, I could give you all sorts of factors, but,
Okay, but other things to consider now, if you're gonna be hiring people to work in your
Well,
hotel.
my big one would be experience, and
Customer
obviously in the
service.
hospitality industry, it would be a plus, but also.
And there's high turnover in the hospitality industry.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
So, what does that give you, did it give you any ideas?
well, it's kind of illegal to hire based on this, but for me, I would.
Don't even say.
So
family.
then the answer is.
Some people might do this, go ahead,
Well,
John.
it's illegal to, ask your questions in an interview process in this manner, but like, for instance, in a Daytona hotel, like, for me, the first thing I would think would be lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle is this person leading? Because if they're, like, let's say, and not even like a bad thing, let's say that, I'm talking to this guy Bob, and Bob's a surfer. And then I know Bob's getting up every morning and he's going surfing, so, if I need a overnight shift, Bob's not showing up.
Mhm.
And if I need morning shift, Bob's definitely not the guy to call.
Okay.
So if I'm looking for a morning shift and Bob's a surfer, or I'm looking for someone that might need to shift into a morning shift,
Okay.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate. How would you ask that kind of question in an interview process?
Bob, how do you like to spend your free time?
Okay.
are you allowed to ask how you'd like to spend your free time?
Yes.
I thought that was one of the kind of iffy.
Well,
Probably illegal the way I said it.
I think
But
a
you
way
try to draw 'em
to
out.
cover it all would be,
I mean, what goes in your resume?
Right, in application, on
Interests.
application, it says
What are your
activities.
interests?
yeah.
open-ended questions such as, tell me about yourself.
Absolutely. Here's my first thought.
Which I
As a general rule, when you're gonna talk, let's say, kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
don't you think most of the people in the kitchens throughout that area are connected in some way? They know one another, they've worked together, et cetera, et cetera. So if you had to open up brand new, you've got advertise and screen. But if you can identify a few good people, what's the next thing you ask your best people?
Who do you know?
Who do you know that's as good as you are? Who do you know that if they came and worked for me and they didn't work out and I fired you, okay? But if they work out, I'll give you a bonus. You got any people you got in mind? In some way, use your good people to recruit the rest of your staff. What else? Another thought, okay? If turnover's pretty high, can you find a way to compensate really good people to keep them from leaving and then turn that around? If your network of kitchen help knows everybody else, do you know anybody really, really good that hates his job? Right? So these are the kind of things I would like you to try to come up with on this kind of an exam. What kind of things come to mind? How can I creatively think about hiring staff for the hotel? How important is a bilingual ability? Super premium.
Very important.
Yeah.
I just looked at an outside sales position and reading the details. You only had to have a high school diploma, but you had to be bilingual in French and English.
For what area?
It was
Most
for
of them.
Fort Lauderdale,
For Fort Lauderdale, in French. Interesting.
right?
That's cool.
That's right then.
En français, oui, on peut.
There's a strong Creole.
J'apprends un peu.
Turnover in this industry, this should say at, not a, at levels below the director supervisor is around 30%. Explain what this means. What does it mean, 30% turnover?
You're hiring,
I mean-
training a lot.
That means out of every
Numerically,
100
what does it mean?
employees, 3 of them are leaving you.
Three out of every 10 of your employees will not stay for a year. Okay? It's probably higher than that.
So turnover is based on 1 year.
Yeah.
People talk about turnover.
And if I said there's a 50% turnover, what does that tell you? On average, a person works for me 6 months and leaves.
Where you really hate your employees.
What does turnover do to profitability?
It eats it.
Oh, definitely, because you have to retrain, and training.
Your
eats up-
retraining costs are enormous.
Enormous.
Yeah. So how can you reduce turnover?
Better training and
Better compensation.
What's the best key to reducing turnover? What's the most fundamental necessity?
make your employees happy.
Employee
Communication.
satisfaction.
That's close enough. Leadership.
Well, yeah. it's all-
Good leadership, which includes keeping them happy, keeping each one of them challenged to that optimal degree that they like, I'm sorry?
Cameras.
Right.
There's certainly a call for that, there's no argument. That's one of the other things we're talking about, recruiting on your housekeeping staff,
Background check.
background checks and
Oh, yeah.
honesty.
Definitely.
And that's not something you just assume, it's not something you screen for and turn them loose. Honesty and ethics need constant reminders, constant discussions, not one way, don't forget. Let's talk about it, you know? You know anybody, you ever seen anybody in any other hotel you ever worked in that stole stuff out of a room? What do you suppose happened to them? What do you suppose happened to that hotel?
Just more of a curiosity thing, like during the interview process, let's say that I'm interviewing you and have you in a room, and before you get there, I might have like an iPod strategically just on the floor somewhere, just sitting there, and I leave the room for, let's say, like 5 minutes to go do whatever. Can you like kind of like plan something like that to see if they take the iPod or don't take the iPod, or?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it was a camera recording, there you're out of bounds, but you're gonna leave something and see if it disappears.
I mean, is that sort of like?
Can, but I
Is
would,
that a
I mean,
form
is
of
that-
entrapment in any way?
But
I don't think so.
Can you entrap during an interview?
You didn't encourage them to steal it,
Right.
you just left it there by accident, if it
I mean,
disappears.
if I'm hiring a wait staff or something, that's gonna be the first thing I want to find out is, are they gonna be, finders keepers?
I think there's other ways you can ask the question. I think I mentioned before, Disney used to ask it. You'd ask if you had a friend that stole, or you saw somebody there's other ways
Oh,
that you can get people that you'll be very surprised how they
He's just
answer.
trying to catch them in the
Yeah,
act.
because
See
like
if they're
on an
honest and integrity.
on an honesty questionnaire, I could pass every honesty questionnaire a million years, and it doesn't mean I'm actually being honest. It means I know how to answer the question.
Yeah,
Most
we just have to
interview
be
process-
careful how we go about assessing that honesty.
Most interview processes are that way anyway. Most people you hire are the same people that show up.
All right, anyway, there's 13 questions here. I wouldn't use them all on the exam, you don't have time. But I might pick out 6 of them and say, here, I'd make the costs a little easier to deal with because you don't have a lot of time. But once you finish that, I want you to head through here and say, okay, what are you gonna do with each one of these questions? How could you plan to meet a downturn in the economy?
Sorry, number 4. Yeah, you might have had a couple of drinks.
What are the implications of implementing a management training program for this
Oh, never
hotel?
mind.
Why?
I thought it's. I'm sorry.
Maybe
I
you
read it.
should drink before
Maybe I
class.
should have.
Maybe you had to drink. What did you read?
Maybe you
No,
should
I
have
thought
one.
it said, what are the implications of implicating like,
Implicating.
I was like, the implications of
You're
implicating.
down into, let's find them guilty.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it. Based on the forces that shift the demand curve, suggest 6 strategies the firm could use to pursue and increase its demand function. If you've forgotten your microeconomics, you may have to go back and look that stuff up.
Which number are you on?
12,
I like
Oh.
number 7 too. I think it's not
vulnerability to a downturn.
economic conditions.
Because I'm sure
Because I would
during the
think
oil
that,
spill.
Look at number 10.
yeah.
Look at number 10.
Yeah, what do you do with a hotel during the oil spill? Holy mackerel.
Number 10 says, here's two data points, calculate the demand function. Just like we started off day 1 in this course with. Calculate the consumer surplus, number 11. I mean, we're right back to the same stuff. So what I'm trying to say is this is the nature of the case part of the
What a
exam.
damn plan.
Now,
Where's the oil thing that you guys were talking about?
I'm sorry?
I said it. I said.
Oh, what did you say?
No, I just said, the oil spill for hotels that were on that whole thing. You were
Oh, the
talking
oil
economic
spill. Oh,
downtown and all
I
that.
was thinking hurricanes.
That too, but you usually can, that oil spill was,
Well, another one, suppose that
Hurricane
one of your
control.
housekeepers has been found molesting a child.
Yeah.
How are you going to deal with the media? Because they'll be here in about 3 minutes.
yeah.
Those are interesting questions.
PR guy.
Yeah, that's where you need your civil. Disney
As
had,
manager,
Disney's had to deal with that a
I have no
lot,
comment. I mean,
because everybody looks for stuff.
Okay,
They have a,
Josh? Or are you just waving your pen around here?
Sort of, but actually, you're talking about the wells. Like, I worked for a hotel during. It was one of the hurricanes, but basically, like, people got evacuated. There was no power, like all sorts of stuff. In the hotel I worked for, they were given, I think, I want to say the regular room rate was $99. Let's say they were given locals that were like affected from the power outages and the hurricanes. I think the room rate was like $35 or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, because
Like,
that's what
it
we're
was
talking about, you get
basically
what you
just covering
can.
their costs, and
Yeah.
we ended up getting a lot of business after that from like, oh yeah,
Goodwill.
They were supporting.
my uncle, I'm staying here, I came down to visit my uncle, he was here during the hurricane, said this place was great, and, I mean, that word of mouth, I mean, it's just been
The story goes that the Chinese character, the Mandarin character for crisis, is a composite of two different characters. One is for danger, and the other is for opportunity.
Yep.
Crisis gives us lots of opportunities.
And it can go either way.
And a lot of it is your mindset.
Yeah, that's why to me these cruises, they're like, oh, you got really sick, but we're gonna give you a free cruise. Now, what part of that, or restaurants that you got food poisoning, they're gonna give you a free meal? Well, last time I checked, I don't want to eat
I think-
there again. So
I think,
that's where you have to figure out
I think what you just said really goes into long-term strategic planning,
Absolutely.
and that's where it comes into key. If this happens.
But one of the things we really have not talked about in this course, it's called contingency planning. And you sit down with your management staff and you say, we're gonna spend 3 hours this afternoon and talk about what would we do if. And you paint a scenario and map out responses.
That way it doesn't,
Doesn't take you by
You're-
total surprise.
right,
not going
and you're ready and prepared.
Sure,
and it benefits you in the long run.
absolutely.
Correct. And how you handle
Turn
it.
the
And
negative-
from the response of your people, you know which ones you can depend on, which ones are engaged. All right, we could go forever. And I'd a whole lot rather talk about this kind of stuff than macroeconomics. But let me just mention a couple of macroeconomics topics.
Okay.
One of them is called the paradox of macroeconomics. And allied with that term, in this new handout I put up today, is another term, the paradox of macroeconomics and the fallacy of composition.
Composition.
Yeah. A fallacy is an error in your reasoning. Fallacy of composition.
What's that you spelled out?
Yeah, F-A-L-L-A-C-Y.
I've never gotten that right.
The other was the paradox of macroeconomics. So let me talk about the fallacy first. Is it true that it is a good practice for you and I as individuals to save money? Out of your paycheck to save some part of your money.
As long as you're saving it and you don't have interest building items, for instance, credit cards. There's
Okay.
no point in saving money if it's costing you more money. So,
Well, if your interest is on your debt, whatever debts you have, is that excessive, you need to get those paid off, no argument. That notwithstanding, if your payments are small enough, there's an argument that you should be saving also,
right,
at least in the near term, for next week's emergency.
right.
But generally, we would accept, it's a good thing for all of us to save money. It's a good financial characteristic. We save money for emergencies, we save money for opportunities, whatever. Would it be a good thing for you or most people to, if they could, to increase savings, to increase the amount of money saved? The answer is almost categorically yes. We as Americans have absolutely horrendous savings patterns. If it is a good thing for most people to save more, would it be a good thing if everybody started saving more?
No.
No, why not?
Because then you wouldn't
Kill
have
the
money
economy.
go in the economy. And
Then you wouldn't have the spending going on, and sales and businesses would fall. As a result, they would lay off employees. Those employees having no income would spend less, and the spending pattern would dwindle. So, what was true for you or me as an individual is not true for everybody in the composite whole. That's the fallacy of composition. When we study microeconomics, we study the world pretty much as an individual, or an individual company, or an individual industry. And we say, well, if the price goes up, people will buy less, or you and I will buy less. We're talking about a particular market. Take that and sort of turn it around. For your business, would it be a good thing if they passed a minimum wage of $11 an hour? How would that affect your business, good or bad? Assume that most of your folks are working for minimum wage or close to it, $8, $8.50 an
That
hour.
would be bad.
Your costs go up. Means how do you cover your increased costs? You got three ways.
Yeah.
What?
Raise prices.
Raise prices,
Cut back on,
lay off employees, or take less profit out of your business. In the corporate world, you pay less dividends. So higher minimum wage for any individual business in isolation is a disaster. Bad news. But if everybody in your community, in your city, is paying an $11 minimum wage, now what happens?
People
More
that didn't have the
spending.
disposable income before now do, and are gonna most likely spend it more than they would.
Perfect. That in fact, in a composite sense, I'm not saying it would completely offset, but it would reduce to some degree or another the price, the cost, the pain of higher costs to your business by virtue of you having more people coming in your store.
it's a big revolving door because everything goes up.
It does,
Eventually.
but here's the key to that. Let's say that 50% of my business is in wages, my costs. And if I have, in those wages, I don't want to do a whole number example, but if I double those wages, let's say from $8 to $16 an hour, will that double the cost of doing business?
Costing.
Will that double my cost of running my business if these wages are 50% of my costs?
Yeah.
It will double 50% of my costs, not my other fixed costs.
Right.
You see that?
Oh.
So if it doubles 50% of my costs, that's a 25% total cost increase. So if you pay people more, it's not like your costs go up by that same percentage. Depends on how much of your business is costing in wages.
Yeah, but if you're doubling, it's no longer 50% of your, I mean,
Oh, it'll change its percentage of your total cost.
yeah, after the fact.
But from your baseline
Yeah.
cost we started with, a 50% a 100% increase in wages, when wages are 50% of your business, causes your cost of doing business to go up 25%. Now, how do you absorb that 25%? Higher prices, less employees, less profit, okay? Something like that. As a business owner, I don't want to pay higher wages, and I damn sure am not going to pay higher wages if nobody else in the town is, because then I'm just screwing myself, right? All my customers will go everywhere else. But if everybody's going to pay higher wages, so all of our costs relative to one another, somewhat the same. People who are really, really labor intensive, they're going to get hurt more. People who are, I got no labor, man, all I have to do is run a production line, they're going to be in good shape. There's going to be some inequities in there. This is not a clean cut, here it is how it works. But the argument about higher minimum wages, I'm not saying I'm in favor of it. I'm saying that all the talk about how bad it would be and how it would devastate businesses too often overlooks that fallacy of composition. And if you want an example, go to Seattle today. Seattle is getting ready to vote for or implement a $15 an hour minimum wage.
What?
Yeah. They have, I think it's the second lowest unemployment rate of any city in the United States.
I mean, to be honest with you, for a quick second there was like, I'm moving to Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh, I went
All
last
I'm
year.
saying is that economically, Seattle and San Francisco is another one. Their local economies and local city economies, they're booming. Very low unemployment. Businesses are booming.
Yeah, but
Everybody's super relaxed.
Well, maybe that's part of it too.
In San
I don't know.
Francisco. Yeah.
I think there's something
I don't
to
know
be
about
added
Seattle.
there. Yeah.
I went last year and I walked by, we were going down to Pike's Market and there's like 3 people just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get
Because
away,
they're
I'm
making
pregnant, so
15
I'm
bucks.
like,
Is it San Francisco or
no,
Seattle?
this was Seattle.
Seattle?
Yeah.
that happened on my apartment complex earlier today.
Yeah.
But it's legal because they're,
Yeah,
I mean, they're staying out in the main, right next to Pike's Market, which is downtown Seattle, and they're just hanging out, smoking it up.
The reason I bring this up is that when you read from or talk to individual businesses, they're very micro-oriented. Here, what'll it do to me? And I want you to be able to think in terms of not just what will this do to my business, but if it happens to everybody, what else goes on? The paradox of macroeconomics is that what you or I as an individual would judge good or bad is frequently countermanded or reversed when we think about it in a whole,
So
composite whole.
the fallacy of composition and the paradox of macroeconomics are essentially the same thing.
Yeah. The paradox is that there's a fallacy out there.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get a better. If your family is going into debt every month because you're spending more money than you're making, what do you need to do? Make more money or spend less. What happens when you apply that to the government, the federal government? If they're going into debt and you don't want them to, what do you need to do? You need to raise taxes so they collect more money, or reduce their level of spending. That's what would apply for an individual, family, or business. But if you apply that to the federal government of the United States,
Raise taxes, not spending
you
money.
raise taxes and lower spending, what does that do to the economy? Costs jobs. Less spending will occur. Less jobs will be there. Fewer customers will come indoors, and you'll move your economy into worse shape. Now, that was the argument behind austerity. We're so high in debt, we need to raise taxes or especially cut spending, which is a wonderful concept, but don't do it in the middle of a recession when people are already dying, because you're just going to drive the economy further down. Then we have to ask, will our politicians have the courage to do it in a prosperous economy when we can afford it,
Yeah.
but they don't want to take the political risks? So I want you conversing in those areas, and you take a look at the other questions on macro. Let me know via Canvas email if you want, if there's something you run into absolutely don't know how to handle. My vision right now is that the final exam will be 40 multiple choice questions off the textbook test bank. It will be one case question with 6 or 7 or 8 parts. Guaranteed in there will be the estimation of the demand curve, the calculation of the consumer surplus. And then it will be 3 or 4 macroeconomics questions, almost verbatim from the ones I have given you. So if you have any questions over any of that material between now and the exam, let me know. When is the exam, you remember?
It's on my calendar.
August 11th? Okay. Josh?
And how's the grading gonna break up, like, the 40 questions? I mean, is it gonna be like 1 point for each question?
I'm working on a twist on that.
Those questions, I was gonna ask, what are the 40 questions?
It's from the test bank.
From the
No,
test
no,
bank.
Oh,
I
I
was-
know.
Exactly which one?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm
Gonna be in
contemplating a
chapters 1
system,
to
Josh,
6.
that would say, here are the 3 parts to your test. Don't assign any of them less than 15%, but assign weights to each of them for your exam.
Oh, no, it's not the other one.
So you would take your weakest area and give it 15%. The stuff you know you hit out of the park, you'd give it the max that you could. And that gives a little more flexibility.
Strategic management too. I mean, that's a great use of it.
August
I love
4th,
that idea.
actually, it's August 4th, not the 11th.
August
The
4th.
term papers due the 11th.
That's right, I wanted a week to return papers because
Actually,
I
I
have to
think
carry
it's
the grades.
August 7th.
Nope.
It says August 4th here. Written exam Monday, August 4th. And that's what I
Maybe.
have on my calendar.
That sounds right.
Hold on, just wait a second.
Oh my gosh, that's
God, that's like right around the corner.
I would encourage you to share those
written-
questions and get them done.
We
Written
try,
exam.
I am
I
trying.
know. I gotta
Okay,
get
this
back
is
to
written
him.
exam Monday, 4/7 at 5:30 p.m. room AO2. But that can't be right, because August 4th is a Monday. Right?
This
Let's
is
see
what I
that.
had.
Can you update it from, if
Did
you
you-
print that
did
at the
you change it?
beginning?
I probably did.
Um,
Oh, that's the biggest.
I've got it in the right place, I just forgot what month August is. This is wrong, it should say Monday, 8/4, not 4/7.
Okay,
That's-
so it
That's
is,
Strickland error.
alright, so,
That's 8-4, that's right.
One
In
of
room
countless.
A12 or B12? Because you have A12 here.
Probably it is A12, but I'll confirm that, because we now are using both rooms.
Okay.
Alright.
And I think that night,
I knew the one day.
the SOM group has a meeting in here at 7, and I don't want us to have to move, so we'll get somewhere where we can stay.
And
But I'll confirm that.
it's not timed, right?
It's gonna be 3 or 3.5 hour limit. I think most of you are gonna finish in 2 or 2.5.
Yeah.
And if you finish in 30 minutes, there's probably a problem.
Oh, yeah, I would say so.
All
I
right,
don't think I
anything
could
else?
read through the 40 questions. in 30 minutes.
Peace.
All right.
Bye.